Hi, I'm Antonia Timmerman, CGSP Southeast Asia editor. All eyes are on Indonesia this week as Indonesians head to the polls to elect a new president and vice president. It is a very big deal. Now, I've written this article last year about the presidential candidates and tried to predict how each candidate would handle relationships with China. I wrote this back in August 2023. So we have got presidential candidate Anies Baswedan, Prabowo Subianto, and Ganjar Pranowo. Now, following the statements that each candidate made since August 2023 until today, the things I wrote back then still pretty much hold. Prabowo and Ganjar are most likely to continue Indonesia's current president Joko Widodo's policies with China, while Anies has sought to promise changes. As we move closer to the election, we've come to know the candidates better and what these promises mean, be it the claim to continue the previous administration's policies or the claim to usher change. Before we dive into each of them, I just want to say that most analysts that I spoke to agree that whoever wins, there is not going to be any dramatic changes to existing relationships with China. That's what everybody seems to agree on. There won't be any dramatic U turn, especially with ongoing Chinese projects, since doing so would make the economy pretty chaotic. And we know that Indonesian politicians would prioritize stability above anything else. With that being said, let's get into it. I made this infographic not too long ago, and people have said they found it useful. These are the responses from each candidate when they were asked about important topics for us China watchers. That includes South South cooperation, the South China Sea dispute, and how they will handle foreign debts and foreign interventions. The responses from Prabowo and Ganjar are pretty much predictable when it comes to South South cooperation. Both are highlighting critical minerals downstreaming for economic prosperity, particularly for Indonesia's interests. And as we know, this has been Joko Widodo's policy for the last 10 years. Anis's response does sound the most different, as he mentioned the climate crisis as a shared or common concern that must be discussed together by the southern countries. Ganjar surprises in the second question about the South China Sea conflict. He said that we need a temporary agreement in ASEAN, although he didn't elaborate what this temporary agreement might look like. But I think it will be very interesting if we can learn more about what he means about this temporary agreement, because right now, yes, he is very correct. It is very difficult to reach agreements in ASEAN using the current decision making process. The last question on foreign debts and foreign interventions is this question is really the Indonesian way of talking about China without mentioning China. As we know, Jokowi has often been criticized for taking so much debts from China, even though, believe it or not, Indonesia actually has more debts from the United States than from China. As you can see here, Anis basically said, yes, we have too much debt. We need to bring it down to 30% debt to GDP ratio, while Ganjar seemed to be responding to the criticism against the China backed high speed rail project, which had to take a huge amount of debt from Chinese banks. While Prabowo, on the other hand, says, nope, we are just fine right here. Now, in conclusion, I think while Ganjar and Prabowo will continue Joko Widodo's policies and strategies and relationships with China, as you can see from their responses in the debate, Ganjar will be more likely to show some restraints in some cases, while Prabowo will head in the same direction in a much more faster speed and probably in a much more expanded scope as well. But let me know what you think in the comments, and that's it for today. See you next time.